In a remote corner of Alaska, a mystery unfolds every winter. At the edge of the woods, by an old, forgotten cabin, a lone husky appears on the very first day of the cold season. He simply lies down in the snow, a silent sentinel against the biting wind. Townspeople call him He has no owner, no home they know of, but like clockwork, he returns to this exact spot, year after year. He remains there, still and patient, as if the deadly chill is nothing more than a mild breeze. He doesn't flinch when the snow piles high around him, nearly burying him in a white blanket. He doesn't seek shelter, even as temperatures plummet to unimaginable lows. It's a heartbreaking sight. A loyal dog waiting for someone who never seems to come. Mark, a former forest ranger, was one of the first to notice this strange, sad ritual. Living a quiet life as a widower, he carried a heavy heart, burdened by the loss of his own son years ago. Every day, on his inspection rounds through the forest, he'd pass the crumbling cabin and see Ray, a stoic, gray and white statue against the stark landscape. The dog never barked, never wagged his tail, never even looked up as Mark passed. He just waited. Mark watched him endure brutal snowstorms that would send any other creature running for cover. He saw him stay put when the temperature dropped to 30 degrees below zero, a cold that could freeze a person in minutes. Even the howls of wolves in the distance didn't seem to bother him. Mark couldn't understand it. What could possibly keep this dog rooted to that spot, defying every instinct for survival? One particularly cold night, as the moon cast long shadows through the skeletal trees, Mark's curiosity finally got the better of him. He decided he had to know more. He parked his truck a safe distance away and approached the cabin on foot, his boots crunching softly in the fresh snow. They saw Raiden not lying down this time, but standing, staring intently through the grimy window of the abandoned shack. Mark hid behind a thick pine tree, his breath fogging in the frigid air. He felt almost like an intruder, spying on a private moment. "Why do you keep coming back here?" he whispered, the words barely audible, carried away by the wind. The husky didn't seem to hear him. His gaze was fixed, his ears perked, as if listening for a sound only he could hear, waiting for a familiar voice that had long since been silenced. Gathering his courage, Mark stepped out from behind the tree and slowly walked towards the cabin. Raiden turned his head, his intelligent eyes meeting Mark's for a moment, but there was no fear, only a deep, ancient sadness. Then, the dog turned back to the window. Mark reached the dilapidated porch and pushed on the old wooden door. It creaked open with a groan, revealing a dark, cold interior. The air inside was stale and smelled of dust and decay. There was no sign of life, no warmth, just broken furniture and cobwebs, hanging like ghostly decorations. It was clear no one had lived here for a very, very long time. Mark stepped inside, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. He swept the light across the room, and that's when he saw it. On a small, dust-covered table in the corner, a single object remained upright, a small picture frame. Mark picked it up, wiping away a layer of grime with his thumb. His heart stopped. It was a photograph of a smiling young boy, no older than 10, with his arm wrapped around a fluffy husky puppy. It was a younger, a peer Raiden. Mark's hands trembled as he turned the frame over. Scrolled on the back, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "My best friend, Raiden. See you every winter." A wave of understanding and grief washed over Mark. He suddenly knew. The boy in the photos was gone. He remembered the town tragedy from years ago, a young boy who had gotten lost in the woods during a winter storm and never came home. This cabin must have been their special place, and Raiden, the faithful dog, was still keeping their promise. He was waiting for his best friend to return, just as he said he would, every single winter. Tears streamed down Mark's face, freezing on his cheeks. From that night on, everything changed. Mark couldn't bear the thought of Raiden waiting alone in the freezing cold. He began visiting the cabin every day, not just as a passerby, but as a friend. He brought warm food and fresh water. He'd sit in the snow with the dog, talking to him quietly, telling him about his day, about his own son. He brought thick, woolen blankets and carefully draped them over Raiden's back, trying to shield him from the relentless wind. At first, Raiden barely acknowledged him, his eyes still fixed on the cabin. But slowly, a shift began to happen. The dog started to lift his head when Mark approached. A few weeks later, he'd even offer a soft thump of his tail against the snow. In caring for this grieving dog, Mark felt a flicker of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Raiden's quiet companionship was healing a part of him he thought was broken forever. He was saving the dog, but in a way, the dog was also saving him. Then came the storm of the century. The wind howled like a banshee, and snow fell so thick and fast it created a complete whiteout. The town hunkered down, but Mark could only think of one thing: Raiden. He knew the dog would be at his post, refusing to leave. Ignoring the warnings, Mark jumped into his truck and battled his way through the blizzard. When he finally reached the cabin, his heart sank. He found Raiden collapsed on the porch, half buried in a snowdrift, shivering uncontrollably. He was barely conscious. "Raiden, stay with me, boy," Mark cried, his voice thick with panic. He scooped the heavy dog into his arms, the animal's body limp and cold. He carried him back to the truck, blasting the heat, and raced home. Back at his own warm house, Mark worked tirelessly. He wrapped Raiden in every blanket he owned and placed him by the crackling fireplace. He gently spoon-fed him warm broth, coaxing him back to life. For hours, he sat by the dog's side, stroking his fur, whispering words of encouragement. Finally, Raiden stirred. He lifted his heavy head and looked at Mark. Then, he did something he had never done before. He rested his head on Mark's knee, a simple, profound gesture. His eyes seemed to say, "Thank you for not leaving me alone." In that moment, a new bond was forged, one born from shared loss and a mutual need for connection. From that day forward, Raiden never went back to the abandoned cabin. He didn't need to wait anymore. He had found a new home, a new person to love. He had found someone who needed saving just as much as he did. Their two broken souls had found a way to heal each other, proving that real love doesn't just wait, it brings you back to life. If loyalty this pure can exist in the heart of a dog, it makes you wonder why we humans give up on each other so easily. Thanks for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more.